videographer, and we found out that a way to get around the disclaimer is to just have people give their permission on video.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Right, having it on, right?
That's equivalent
Little tip.
I like that.
I'm
Okay.
gonna get us some water.
Right on.
So you guys go ahead and start.
Let's get started. Okay, well, we're recording, James.
All right.
I'm going to start off with, my brain's not 100% today. I haven't had my coffee. That's my drug of choice. But I did just take some Alpha Brain. So
Okay.
if I'm not running at 100%, I apologize.
Dude, but between us, we make one bad brain then.
Here we go. Two halves make a whole. So I'm hoping we can get you talking and telling stories early on, and I'll sit back and enjoy.
Is this recovery?
Well, okay. This isn't. Let's start with what this is.
Okay.
I don't really know exactly what this is, but the spiel I normally give is I came to podcasts through like comedians. So I'll name a bunch of people. You probably have heard of Joe Rogan. He's the biggest one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I found Joe Rogan, and then after that a bunch of other comedians, and I, way before finding Paul or anybody else, really got into podcasts.
Okay.
It just sort of like, I work a lot. I got a lot of kids. So when I'm cooking, doing dishes, commuting, I commute a shitload, maybe 8 hours, 10 hours a week. A lot of traffic here in the Bay Area. Not recently, but in the past. So I like just having that audio, getting a little clue in other people, hearing other people's stories, sharing. And then it was my own dream for a long time to do my own, because I love the magic of a podcast, of a conversation. Cool things come out. And I say it again and again that it's kind of like if Paul is like verbal jazz, like a soloist, then a podcast is a duet. Like,
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? We're improvising. We have a general theme. And I'll just say, I'll start off with this. I always kind of start off with why I ask somebody or why I'm interested is it seems like Paul's done a lot of work on you, on James, the message.
Isn't that funny? Because not until the pandemic thing did he know it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, for about 3 or 4 years, I off and on would return to Paul, because I was one of those spiritual seeker addicts that my background's in recovery, so I really wrestled with the inner thing, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The energy. So So wrestling with that kind of brought me to eventually to the bottom thing, and then the staying sober thing, and then the urge to drink going away, and realizing my metaphor is like it was like a headache that went away. You don't know when it goes.
Yeah.
But it's gone.
I love that.
Yeah. It just stuck with me. It came to me that this thing has disappeared. Like someone said, you said you had a headache yesterday, and now I don't.
Yeah.
And after 10 years of the relapsing and whatever, and just running out of gas, but eventually, like Paul said, I had to get the whole monkey off my back. And so that led me to start looking around, and being raised a Catholic didn't help. I had that healthy fear of God. God was the wrestler dude with the little, the little naked. He was like the retired naked wrestler on the Sistine Chapel. You know what I mean? That was programmed into me.
That's the first time I've ever heard that image, but I like it. I've heard the Burger King King. You know the commercials of the Burger King with the big crown? The mask?
I blame the Catholics, but now I blame nobody. But I'm just saying they beat it into me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This image of
heavy.
Of him, and so I had to find that. I had to find something, and so I went looking to everything. I probably read 100 books on
Wow.
consciousness, meditation, Taoism, Hinduism, blah blah blah. I was probably, if I had the money, I was on my way to intensives and ashrams, and
Hmm. Yeah, 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 yeah.
fortunately I was so broke that I couldn't do any of that stuff, so I had to look online, but I went everywhere. And ironically, I think that irony is kind of like a force in the universe.
Definitely.
And ironically, people like Judy Cohen and Paul, Hederman said, stop, stop it. Yeah, calm the fuck down. And I did, I was everywhere. And I was starting to just look at too many things at one time. And I put, and I knew I'd done it, I put a data dump down. So it was time to stop. And so we had a hurricane here, and I have my little country, every 10 years I have a country song. The girl drops me, and the job,
You
for the
live a
stuff.
country song, you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It just seems to be this cycle of Shiva the Destroyer comes in and wipes out a bunch of crap. And, of course, back in the day, you'd fight the cycle and cause all kinds of collateral damage.
Mm-hmm.
And today I try to watch the cycle and do as little collateral damage as possible.
Could we say you travel lighter over the country song?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We watched that. Although I wasn't, like all of a sudden I realized, okay, I'm 11 years sober, but 9 of it's been spent in this relationship that just ended. And I'm nowhere near as emotionally sober as I thought I was.
Mm.
And at that very moment, I'm hearing Paul talk about a guy who's trying to use non-duality to fix a broken relationship.
Yeah.
And it's not working out very well. So, this stuff syncs up real good for me for some reason. And then with this pandemic, I get to be a part of your community, which I like. I've felt very much like a boy whistling in the dark sometimes. And so because of that, that's why I got sidetracked. Irony. Buddha at the gas pump introduced me to all these different people.
Mm-hmm.
And the concept that enlightenment was something I'm going to obtain.
Yeah.
If I try hard enough, if I sit for 13 hours or if I can get to the intensive, my kids will benefit from me spending $10,000 to go to some place in India.
Because you'll be enlightened and you won't make any more mistakes or have
Exactly.
any emotional baggage or
Until I get on the plane.
Is this real life? Did you really get on a plane and go to India?
No. I'm just saying. I was saved.
Yeah.
Because I'm broke, and that's dumb and drunk luck working at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I do so much. I feel so much kinship with so much of what you're sharing, and it's a lot of
yeah, I
things
know.
yeah.
Well, that's the thing with, like, I started finding people that I could align myself, that I could identify with, just like in a meeting, and ironically, I found Judy Cohen, and she and I'd been, listening to Paul and Course in Miracles and all this stuff, but I really needed to talk to somebody one-on-one. Do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And then I became broke, and she was willing to trade with me and stuff. But then the Zoom things opened up, and I'm able to be. It's just it's opening me up in so many ways. I can't just even really put a finger on it. I just know I'm going to see a bunch of headaches that have disappeared because they just seem to be disappearing. Things that used to really just. I have a small marketing company, and we work with a recovery center. It's called a 3 Principles psychology-based recovery center.
Right on. Yeah.
And,
hey, pitch it, because this does go out to a couple hundred people. So I always forget to promote.
I'd be happy to, if that's all right.
Please, I'd go for it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Gulf Breeze Recovery. It's in Pensacola, Florida. It's actually in Gulf Breeze, Florida, and it's a small 30-bed operation. But now they do intensive outpatient via Zoom.
Okay.
And and they offer a non-12-step recovery program. Now, I'm a 12-step product, but they became a client after I got sober. And I actually have been able to employ a lot of what they, like Paul says, it needs to be all inclusive.
Yep.
And a lot of these people graduate and they're very impressive, and some of them stay sober and some of them don't, no matter how impressive they are.
Like any program, yeah.
Yeah, but the ones who seem to stay sober are less egoic and more willing to go to AA meetings and things like that just because they want recovery around them.
It's a great sign. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's amazing to hear the transformation in them. But the three principles are something that I've had a difficulty in grasping. It's the principles of mind, which is God, thought, and then consciousness, which to me is a nice vertical path, and it lines up. I think if you had an opaque projector and you could really line up all spiritual paths, you'd see a straight line somewhere between all of them, where they'd all line up with a real simple truth,
Yeah, for sure.
So the 3Ps does that, but I'm not a 3P. I'm not somebody who finds a lot of relief. That's not a skillful means I've adopted.
Mm-hmm.
What's the three? God,
mind, and consciousness.
Mind, God, and conscious. Or I'm sorry, mind, thought, and consciousness.
Mind is God.
But mind is like God. It's the field, And thought is the feeling that we get when we're using our thinking, and consciousness is the manifestation of it. And so the idea is to use thought as a compass. And when thought is south, it feels bad. And when thought is north, it feels good. And so they sit a lot with feelings and allow them to just sort of pass without attaching to thoughts. Now, in what we're kind of talking about, that's a little selfing in there.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, but
yeah, I mean, like what is attaching to what and all that kind of stuff wants to come up, and you can upset them, but some of them seem to be a hold of something and it works for them.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if I get it or not. They seem to be, they were doomed and now they're not, and they seem to be marching with this thing, and it seems to work with a lot of people. So a lot.
Let me say, I have two other people, because I'm bad. I don't take notes and I forget shit. So send me the link and I'll post it on there.
I will. It's golfbreezerecovery.com, and the breeze is BREEZE, like Gulf Breeze, Florida.
Okay.
And it's an interesting place, and there's a lot of information on the website.
Right on.
But it's not something where they really push the 3Ps is in it. It's principle based, but it's really about 8 weeks of like what we're talking about, an intensive, like in that environment, like I told them, I said, I think that as a marketing study, I should enter your program and spend 8 weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
And you should pay me for it, and they were like, no, I don't think so. Because, for 30 grand, you're going to feel great. And some people like pull out of that parking lot and use. And some of them take it with them because they were ready to get it. They just were.
Uh-huh.
And that's what happened to me. I had spectacular bottoms. I was, reanimated, overdosed, did all kinds of stupid human tricks that caused a lot of collateral damage. And then one day I ran out of gas.
Yeah. The system wore itself out.
Yeah, and I ran out of gas on my back patio, and some of these kids run out of gas at this place.
Yeah, gotcha.
And some older folks do too. It seems like it's funny because they used to serve primarily opioid addicts and then meth addicts, and then now good old alcohol seems to be the problem. But it's always what we're talking about is it's the same thing. And it's the original addiction. Yeah, and it predates this stuff. And that's what really saved me, because I probably would have used by now if I was still.
Yeah.
Somehow this stuff has gotten me to look at James as more of a third-person narrative.
Yeah, I heard you share that the other day, and I thought that was really cool.
The room in there is amazing.
Yeah.
And I'll share another thing that I shared that I think I likened it, like a lot of this came while I was sitting on my back patio for 3 days, going through withdrawals, and and I really was. It was like, man, I can't write another bad check to drink the withdrawals off, the narcotic withdrawal. I just can't do it. So I'll lay here like an animal and die, or I won't. Like, it was real simple. It just
A
came to
little
me.
Ramana thing, man. Like when you know the story of Ramana when he was convinced he was going to die, and
I did. I don't. I'm not real. I know he's the poster child for non-duality, and I'm into non-duality, but I really don't know a lot about
Future
Ramana.
saint.
I
Yeah, I
call him
know. I know.
the OG
There's
of
supposed to be a
non-duality.
picture of him over there. I was gonna try to get a lily or something, and but now that it's not on video, let's just
Yeah,
assume there is one. The
yeah, yeah.
French models are waking up,
Well,
but it
that
doesn't
sounds more
matter.
interesting than this. So I would.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. You can't see them anyway, so they'll
No,
have to do dishes and whatever. But
I didn't mean
the
to cut you off. That's actually a really beautiful share. You're sitting there and it sounds like surrender. It sounds like either the
there
action
really
figure
was a
gonna die
moment
or
of
something.
surrender. There
Yeah,
was a moment of surrender, and I kind of realized it. Like, I realized I'd come to the end.
yeah.
And my sponsor had been my sponsor for 8 years of relapsing. Everybody at the local clubhouse had known me as the the guy that would come in all tore up from the floor up, get a few weeks and disappear.
Mm,
And then all of a sudden it was sticking. And I was meeting people that were willing to, like, just hang out with me. I met a guy. It's kind of funny because things happen when they're meant to. So there's this moment of surrender. I think it was like 48 hours of laying there waiting to see what would happen. And then, I had decided I would eat, go to a meeting, you know, and I just had the ability to follow through with stuff I could never follow through with in the past, and there was people willing to talk to me about the first step for 12 hours a day and not repeat themselves. I don't know where they came from. Just, people that were there visiting,
yeah,
but were like, this guy's ready,
like
like
students
there was
ready.
that
Yeah,
light of readiness,
yeah,
and the right people just entered. And even though it was a long time before I felt well, drinking just stopped being an option. It was weird. And when I couldn't get out of bed without it, it just stopped being an option. And with that, pretty much everything else, like I said, I kind of got involved in a relationship and left AA for a while. Honestly, I went every Sunday because my sponsor did a big book study. But like Dumb and Drunk Luck Work, just showing up for that got the information in there. And then when the country song ensued, and I, I really, my ex jumped in the middle of AA, so I couldn't really be a part of that scene. But there was a couple of lonely nights on the schedule that people weren't showing up to open the place up for and stuff like that. So I just made that a commitment.
yeah,
The commitment kept me going once, twice a week.
yeah.
And I found this stuff was in me. And because the only people showing up are kids from treatment,
Hmm.
there's no pressure.
Yeah,
And, I'm not being judged by them. They have to be there. It's a captive audience. And so why not do the best I can to entertain them with some information that's helped me? And it's like people are ready to hear this stuff. They're ready to see what's been driving the boat as a third party. And in that is, like, I don't know what their thing is, but there's room. And it's like Paul says, seeing what you're not.
yeah,
But I felt like the bondage of self was like a merry-go-round, and I was caught in the middle of it. And all the same horrific scenes are looping around, and there's not a damn thing. She's a grand old flag, you know, um, cold turkey, just everything just swimming around, bad father, bad son, bad, just the four horsemen, whatever. And they're still doing it. But
yes.
I'm like over here, and this merry-go-round's over there somewhere. I can still hear it off in the distance, but I'm not in the middle of the damn thing.
I think that's the huge
It,
realization, the huge seeing that Paul's message offers. And
it did that.
Yeah, seeing again and again what I hear from people. So it's funny you started off with, is this recovery? I actually haven't been through recovery. Got lucky enough that this action figure doesn't have too many
But you
substance that
needed what he had to say, right?
needed what he had
Like,
to say
it
exactly.
doesn't matter. Look,
There,
my
there, there,
ex-wife,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, it's fine. I was just going to say there was absolutely an addiction to playing God and to self, trying to get out of self.
Look, I don't know one damn happy person in the world. Some to lesser degrees, some to greater degrees, but I don't know anybody for whom a little space wouldn't be nice.
Yes.
With the exception of Luna. You know, she's got 6 good years, right? But
Yes. You
she's
said
got to
she got
fit
six
in with,
six good years. Is that what you said?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
that's
think we all
funny.
have 6 good years,
My,
but
my
but
baby, my
eventually,
my babies are 3 and 6, and yeah, my
mhm.
6-year-old, she's freaking everything to me. But I've seen subtly the hedonic treadmill taken over, the hungry ghost
Uh-huh.
taken over just a little bit, and it breaks my heart. But I remind myself again and again, we all go through, this is the cycle of
We
life,
all go
and
through it, man.
yeah, and what a walk in the park used to be, 100%, 10 out of 10. I can always count on that being magical and amazing. And now
Yep.
it's like 8 out of 10. Sometimes she's going through
You know,
something and it's not. And I have to remind myself again and again, like, this, I'm not doing anything wrong. She's not doing anything wrong. This is
no, no,
what
no.
being human
Everybody's
is.
doing their very best right where they are.
Yeah.
And we're all at these different places. Okay, here's another little aha moment I had during this pandemic Zoom gasma thing, that we're and that's that like the way I look at everything, it's this one thing that showed up in relationship, but it went everywhere for me. And it was that, like, I looked at everything from the first girlfriend, right? All the way up to the ex-girlfriend and everyone in between, right? As being all sitting on the same timeline. These are people that don't know each other and are connected in no way except
Except God.
this thing I made up in my mind.
You're the meaning you were giving it. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all sitting there on that timeline. And I'm operating under this assumption all the time, not even recognizing it. And excuse me. So all of a sudden, and this may seem trivial, but I realize these people don't even know each other.
Yeah.
The only thing that connects them is me
Yes.
in my mind.
Uh-huh.
It was just like such a big get.
Yeah.
Such a simple thing. It'd been sitting there, this little turd floating in my punch bowl, but
Yeah.
my whole life there's this thing, this relationship thing. And then I like what Paul said about it. Of course, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with self-esteem, with who I think I am, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's what I love about people like Judy and Paul is they say, what needs that?
Yeah. That's
And it just stops you. Like, I have the opportunity to write long letters to people. I have a blog all set up I could write. I have all this stuff, but like all of a sudden I got this just chill out, dude, message,
Yeah.
and let it matriculate, because this stuff, it's been downloaded. I still read the Course in Miracles every day. But that's just a habit. And I don't know, Paul's almost got me back in the big book, which I just stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped reading it.
One thing that I've been playing around with, I've shared with Mike and with Keith, who's another one of my go-to guys when it comes to discussing stuff in the message, is what if you want to simplify kind of what Paul offers, I would say it's an end to seeking. It's an end
to seeking.
Yeah, it's an end to believing it's just around the corner, it's just in the next whatever. And like you said, he offers, like, chill out. Like, let the interest and attention that's in the past, future, that's in imagination, that's in all these stories, let it redistribute, be reconfigured to be available here, now, and see what happens. Like, that we're all terrified of if we stop, the shoe's gonna drop. The lion that's chasing me is gonna
There
finally
is
catch me.
something,
Yeah,
and it's a
yeah.
pile of laundry, but there is some monster out there that's getting us all. And I don't care if you're Donald Trump to the guy that, you know, I mean, I'm pretty low on the food chain. I'm trying to think of someone lower me. Anyway, but I'm just saying that from, from all points of the spectrum, I'm just saying everybody's got troubles. And I guess there's a lot of stuff that stayed stuck in the head. A course really had me looking at stuff I didn't like as having value to me, and that to give is to receive in truth, and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of it stays stuck in the head because of the way it's delivered. And the way Paul delivers it is something I can identify with. He's played with the same skillful means. It's kind of the same age. He speaks with the same accent. I'm lucky to have just found that guy, because he just, but I'm not saying any of these people are saying anything different. Eckhart Tolle was a big influence on me.
Right on. And he has most people that are in this little Paul Sangha, and most people I've interviewed on this podcast say a similar thing, that he was the introduction for a lot of people. He was for me too, actually. If you want to take the box of non-duality, and the big one for me that I've heard it from other people, but when I heard it from Eckhart Tolle, it hit the hardest. You are not your thoughts. You're that.
But you know what hit the hardest for me, I'll tell you, is one book that somebody in AA gave me, and that was Emmett Fox, Sermon on the Mount. Because of the Catholic Church, I had so much prejudice against Jesus that I shut down when you talked to. And then when I read this book, it was like, he's like every other spiritual teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It really opened this stuff up. But it really was, he pointed out, this author, that to speak with that kind of brevity is amazing. It doesn't matter who you think he is. To say our Father and yet be able to talk about our relationship to God, God's relationship to us, our relationships to each other, using 2 words.
Yeah.
And sometimes Paul does that for me. Very few words get a lot accomplished.
Yes.
Whereas some of these guys, it took a lot of what they had to get a little bit done, for me. But I still would go back and back because it's all I had. Where am I going to go? And gosh, I'm trying to think. It's just been a weird journey, but really, I realized that a lot of this stuff was really talk and not walk until, because my first year in recovery was such a pink cloud. There was so much pain prior to that. And then, so much of it was just relationship bullshit, where I'm getting stuff from outside to feed the inner, and did enough work to not want to drink, but really didn't have to put some of this stuff into action. And so a couple of years ago, when some of this started, I was in porcupine mode. I wasn't happy. We had my brother died. We had girlfriend dumped me. We had a hurricane. House wasn't comfortable.
That's a country music song, yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't. And I have people saying, "Well, try to not evaluate it. Try to just experience it without it being good or bad. Blah 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 blah."
Good luck with that.
Yeah. So I don't know, it's one of those things that's been, in hindsight, like there's just a bunch of headaches that have gone away, and one of them is the porcupine mode, just needing to go. And I got that from some girl in recovery, but that was happening to me. I really needed to chill out and to let some of this stuff work in reality, not be a bunch of talk.
Yeah.
You can get behind me if you want. Is she going to bed? All right. Well, here, let Luna say goodnight to you guys.
Good night,
Because she
Luna.
never gets a chance, to ever. Because she's so shy.
Good night, Luna. Sweet
All
dreams.
right. Kiss him goodnight.
Mwah.
Yeah.
All
All
right.
right. I mean, still, so much has been a blessing. Like I live with both my daughters, their husbands, my granddaughter, and it's all temporary, but it's been a real cool time. We had a couple flare-ups during last summer when it was really hot and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
But by now we're just getting our roof put back on next month.
Holy shit! Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've been through this stuff, and this pandemic, it's kind of prepared us for it because we were already sort of, dealing with stuff and living together and keeping this little biodome going and all this. So
Yeah, I think that's so cool, man. I've talked to almost everyone I've talked to, and I always got to preface this with I know there's a lot of people that are in a lot of pain,
no,
economic struggle, but almost everyone I've talked to has been like, "Oh my God, this pandemic was a blessing for me and my family." And it has been for me
it's
because
been mixed.
it's life. It's a mixed bag, of course,
Yeah.
But it was in a certain way. It's the dreaming saying, "Hey, you got to stop to a certain point, and you got to kind of live life a little bit more like we're meant to." I'm so happy to hear that you're living with your kids and with you having grandkids around like that. I being surrounded by kids myself, all the time and generations and family, you kind of can't help. It's so much harder to get in your own head and deal with your own problems when the manifestations of self when you're surrounded by people. It's a great blessing, and that's
Though
one of the
I was a
silver linings.
bad parent. I really was. I Nick, man, but things have turned out okay. It's like that part in the big book, all right? It says you have so many problems, you don't think you can overcome any of them. But if you can make this little degree of change, you'll find that a lot of this stuff, you're somewhere else in the solution, not in the problem anymore.
Yes.
And it's huge time saver. This one lady was like 10 years in, 10 years out. And my sponsor was like, bullshit. Do you know what I mean? You can flick that switch and just let it work.
Yes.
And I don't know, man. I'll share this thing that I found a long time ago, but it was within the past couple of years, and it's this thing called Life Explained. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Hans Wilhelm, he's this German dude, and it's lifeexplained.com. You can watch every damn video he's got, and he's a book illustrator for children, so he draws it all out.
Okay.
He's got a real sweet German voice, but so he went through a lot of stuff, and I don't know how much of it I buy into or not, but one thing he said is that everybody has a certain energetic kind of vibratory quality to them, and that the neat thing about the generational thing is that the vibrational quality of a parent is usually not in complement with their child.
Yeah.
Because their job, it doesn't really involve the child being happy or not.
Yeah, and it's
it
kind
involves
of the system that way. Yeah.
Yeah, it's you're involved in your child's survival.
Yep.
Whereas the vibrational sort of quality of someone in the grandparent generation is almost more complementary to that of the person in the grandchild generation.
Totally. I'm down. I'm down with that.
Yeah. And I found that to actually have some, because my kids have a job to do, that I don't really have to worry about so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, why it's dysfunction in our society, right? Because there isn't the unified family that's dropping off that energy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's kind of neat.
I was thinking something I really like is as someone that's more in it, that I have younger kids and then my older stepkids are oldest is 18, going to college next year. I like people that say, hey, was I a bad parent, or did I screw my kids up? I like people that say, hey, did they survive? Like, you did it. That's kind of back to they like you said, you're in there to make sure they stay alive, that they eat, that they're sheltered, and all the extra grandiose ideas of what a parent is going to bestow to their kids. I don't know that I buy into that shit as much as, I think a lot of that creates more collateral damage, to use one of your phrases.
It does, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've done to my kids is that, like, they had to deal with me getting sober, right? Yeah. But they had to deal with all the shit that came before it, and then they had to deal with all the bullshit after it,
Yeah. Yep.
It'd be so great if you could just go, all right, we're done.
Yeah.
And you don't have to listen to me apologize or try to make amends or doing this crap. You know what I mean? You can just enjoy yourself now.
Yeah.
And I'll try to do the best I can to, do this job here. But we do what we do. And that's one of the things I'm learning, is to not put them through so much of my bullshit.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's in the same theme, what keeps coming up on the podcast, which keeps coming up on Paul's talks, of like, the idea of fear of death is taking all the interest and attention and putting it in a fear of death instead of in living. So you're kind of dead already because of a fear. And that can translate to everything else. The fear of, did I fuck my kids up? Did I apologize well enough? Did I, did I screw them over for life? All that interest and attention is in the past and in anxieties about the future of what's going to become. If you can surrender to all of that, it is what it is, it was what it was, then in that message kind of a way, the interest and attention becomes available here today, right? And that's kind of all we have, that one day at a time that we have today. And if I am available, maybe even a little add-on, a little loving and a little understanding and spacious here today, what more can you ask for? Are we traveling lighter today?
I couldn't put it better that way, to be honest. There's nothing to add to that, dude.
Right on.
There really isn't. I mean, if I could really, most days that's where I need to get to. And there have been a few days this past week where I just really felt that energy, that negative energy trap there, and I wasn't really attaching it to too much.
Yeah. You were maybe able, a little more third person, to watch that negative energy play out. And like you said something earlier on, which I said, it hit me as, again, I said there's a lot of kinship there, is whatever your shit is, the tornadoes of the mind, of the emotions, don't really stop, but your relationship to them does change. And that is the real gift. In that, whatever that neuroses is, whatever that guilt, whatever that resentment is, you see the claiming. And if you can see the claiming of it and not buy into that, not let your faith and your belief just get completely juiced and let that run out, then there's your relief. It's not, there's an idea of like self trying to get out of self is, I want all the bad emotions to stop forever. I want the peace to stabilize. I want to be loving and patient all the fucking time. But that's a trick of the mind that perpetuates the collateral damage and all the other shit. Whereas if you can get that third person perspective, get that seeing it as what you're not, then it's allowed to play out, and you travel a whole lot lighter over those country songs. Even if it's a mini one in your head during the week, or if it's if it's one of the big ones that hits.
One of those things, my ex-wife and I used to drunk and dial and yell and all that, and have arguments. And I was sitting in an AA meeting, and this guy said, a kind word turns away wrath. Like, he quoted the Bible. And immediately I found that, like, I said something, like, I just came out of me, but it was like, at the end of the day, we're getting through this, and it's really, I said something nice to her, and it just totally changed that thing. And this thing the Course in Miracles has to offer is really neat. This that really our only job here is to forgive this world as much as possible. And so much of that idea of dreaming it, I'll share a couple more things because I know you're running out of time, but
Please.
I realized, I didn't born me, but somewhere along the way I started taking responsibility for me.
Isn't that
And
weird?
yes.
It's like such a cognitive dissonance.
But I didn't born me ever.
Yeah.
And this idea of doership really does, it's the thing that results in these problems we have. When you get into recovery and you get out of this doership thing, you realize that no one's doing dirt. Like, that's not your first instinct anymore.
Yeah.
So the big thing everyone's afraid of is this idea of anarchy or chaos. If we don't have all these rules and people, it just doesn't happen. People chill out.
Yeah.
And one of the things I've done lately is I've really tried to even go from, like, since this thing that Paul's talking about, seeing what you're not, it's really not even a who, it's a what.
Yes, huge distinction. Seems like
Yeah,
semantics, but all the time. I don't
it's
say
a
who am
little
I.
thing, but it's
Yeah.
a thing.
Yes, it is.
What needs this?
Yes.
What? And I don't know if I'd have had ears to hear that when I was your age, but a lot of what I did here is coming back. A little degree of change will take you to a totally different place. And the change that's been happening in the past few months, it's going to be fun to see where it goes.
Yeah. It reminds me something Paul said that stuck with me. The last live talk he gave, which I missed, but it was in his backyard, and I've played that video 10 times now, is he said, once there's a mountain, it's going to take a lot of fucking work to chop that mountain down. But if there is no mountain,
and you just leave it no mountain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so if you start after the mountain of bullshit, it's going to take lifetimes to fucking chop that mountain down. But the realization that there is no mountain, that's the gift.
What you resist persists, and what you fight, you strengthen.
Yeah.
It's really crazy. And I never, man, I probably, if I really wanted to think about it, there's people who've tried to give me this message many times.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yep. And there was a time when, hey, when you coming over? When I'm done doing my qigong and I've finished watching this Buddha at the gas pump, and then I'll be, by 6:30, I'll be okay for the rest of the evening, to not go crazy.
I will have earned a little bit of relief and peace.
My spirit points.
Yeah.
My little spirit badge. My little card will be punched.
Yeah.
And I just don't spend that much time trying to punch the card anymore. I do miss a meditation practice, and I'd probably benefit from it. I've gotten a little flabby the past couple of months from not going to the beach anymore. And I don't know. Otherwise, man, this stuff's really hard to put into words. Another thing they say in the big book somewhere is that some things have to be experienced to be understood. They can't be transmitted or explained.
Yeah.
And I don't know how Paul explains it, but some of that stuff gets through, you know what I mean? And then it's so plain talk, you can go experience it.
Yes.
You can go try to experience it a little bit. And when you start realizing the headache's gone, something's happening. And man, like, I probably had a million little wisdom bombs I wanted to drop on you guys, but I never wrote them down throughout the day. I just knew we'd be talking and stuff.
Yeah, well, you hit us with a bunch.
And I can ramble on forever. Believe me, once I get going, the action figure can go. I used to sit there and go, well, when they hear my story, when I get to tell my story.
Yeah.
And one of the first headaches that went away is I realized I didn't want to tell my story anymore. Like, they started inviting me out to these recovery centers to talk, to hear the story. And it was like, why do you want to hear the story?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you want to hear about the solution?
There it is.
And you can see the counselors are back there like, this is this okay?
Yeah, this doesn't fit our program. Yeah.
No, but like the people there are like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Because it's the truth.
Exactly.
And I don't know how to put it into words. There's this thing, it's telling us what to do. It's not going to be a service animal. I know I'm being a poor man's Paul right now, repeating them, but
hey, that's what we all are, man. That's
yeah,
the point of this podcast, is to be a poor
it's
man's
not
Paul.
going to be a service animal. It's
Yeah.
just not.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad I didn't go and integrate and dance.
Yeah.
Some of the fornicating might have been fun. I don't know. I always planned to go to I wanted to go to what is his name? Oh shoot. I listened to his podcast a bunch too. He has this they did a video about him, and on NPR one of the guys that was the producer said he never blinks. Osha.
Osho, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I always wanted to go there and dance and be tribal, be hedonistic.
Yeah, what I'm hearing, again, when I was saying feeling kinship with you, is I was going, I know, luckily I had enough of seat assignments that I couldn't blow $1,000, let alone
No, I couldn't blow
$10,000.
$1,000.
Yeah,
I didn't
let
have
alone
$1,000 to blow.
take 2 weeks off and go to India. And all those drives were very much in me. And I really much believe I could have joined the ashram. I could have joined the Hare Krishnas because I was seeking after. I
think it forces you to be a householder and put this stuff into action. To have kids and to go to a job and,
which is a huge blessing for me, is finding Paul and saying, hey, give it all up. You can go, to the other shore of doing all those things, but once you get there, you're going to realize you've never left upon having never left. And that there's such a truth in that, and there's a surrender to the ego and all of its wanting the orgies and the dancing and the stuff,
and the certification. The resume.
You want to punch the cards. Yeah, you want to punch the cards and get the certificate that you're.
I'm a reverend.
You're a genuine spiritual.
I've married 3 people.
Yeah, allies. Yes.
It costs $35.
Yeah. And something about this sangha, it's been the hugest blessing in my life. I told Mike, I always wanted to belong, right? And and I could have spent the $10,000 to go belong to the ashram. I could have, and I found basically the cheapest thing there is. Paul doesn't ask for anything. I donate as much as I can. I have a little side piece because I a side jar of putting money aside for him because I want to, I want to contribute in that way. But I
tithed them anonymously. I won't say how much because it was pretty pathetic. But
yeah, you give. But,
I thought, man, I've gotten as many hours out of more hours out of listening to him than I've gotten out of my Xbox.
yeah, for sure, absolutely. And
I probably put about 1,000 views on that damn thing. But I'll play it. Sorry.
No, please go ahead.
Oh, well, but like I said, I was the boy whistling in the dark.
Yes, that's what I wanted to get back to. And what this pandemic has, one of the gifts of it within this little community is it's expanded the world. I told the story before, I found Paul and I was about 5 to 10 talks in before I realized he was in San Francisco, right down the street from me. And I had already made plans, like I'm going to get on a plane and go fly to, Newark or wherever he is, or Long Island. I thought he was over there. And it turns out he was literally 4 blocks away from where I was working. Wouldn't believe it if it was in a movie, right? And instantly, the first day I was there, the first talk, after the talk, the first guy that came up to me was Mike, gave me a ride to coffee, we went to lunch, and it was such a healing of like, oh, it's not in India, it's not at the other side of a retreat, it's here. And the fact that I can go twice a week, I can go see the talk and the fellowship afterwards, the hugest blessing in my life. And now getting to the Zoom-gasm that the pandemic has because I didn't care about Zoom before the pandemic, but this has forced me to consider it, and now it has broadened that circle, and I felt a kinship with you, and I go, yes, you're in Florida, but you might as well be here in San Francisco going to the talks and having the coffees with us afterwards.
Dude, Star's the questioner.
Starve the questioner, yeah.
It was the first Zoom session I was able to participate in, and you popped on, and I used that all week.
Right on. Yeah, that was a big one for me too. And I do feel a blessing. What comes up in a lot of the talks for me is I hear someone sharing and going, I'm going through this, I'm going through that, and Paul trying to help them out over Zoom. And again, I go, God, I'm so glad I got to do this with him over coffee instead of having to be on the other side of the planet doing it with him. Because I don't know, the way it worked out for me is I go, it's so cool. I sat with him one-on-one and I said, hey, all this crazy shit came up for me during the talk. And just this calming, like, yeah, and see it as what you're not. Like, it's simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
But he gives you a chance to go get buck naked and say, like, I'm dealing with this stuff, you know? And, and then he'll go, what is?
Yeah. And
then you go,
have the winds taken out of that sail.
Totally.
Time. Yeah.
You're just, I don't. That's it.
So I just can't get enough of seeing it work with others and sharing.
Yeah.
This is what I fucking love to do. I got 5 kids and I work. My hobby is the talks. I don't, especially during the pandemic.
I spent all day working on urchin tracking modules.
Oh, right on.
Called UTMs. Oh, you guys know about them?
I didn't.
Oh, okay, because I can't find much information about them, but it was the opposite of spiritual sperm being thrown at me all day long. It was more like technological, overstimulating, stay in the world crap. And, I did it pretty good.
Yeah.
It's tough sometimes. I'm not a guy, I'm not an early adopter of technology. I like to I want to do as little as possible for as much money as possible.
Yeah.
And it's all of a sudden it's reversed the pyramid. You know what I mean? I'm now working twice as hard under a retainer.
Yeah. And it is what it is right now, right?
Yeah, it's like a law firm that's been like 3 years just charging a client, and then all of a sudden he's in jail.
Oh, shit.
You're going through all the paperwork and stuff.
Yeah. I got you.
So, it's been real busy, but like this message, it's given, like, my partners work my schedule around making the meetings.
That's cool.
Yeah, I function better, and it's because I'm getting something I can use as I proceed. Like, I had a Zoom session with an agency that's really trying to poke holes in some of the work I'm doing. And I would normally have gotten very defensive. And, instead I expressed my desire to work with them, and it almost shut the meeting down. They're like, huh. Well, we have this they had to really dig in their bag to find a problem.
Yeah. It takes 2 to tango, right? And if you're
Yeah.
and speaking from the solution, then it's hard to create a problem.
But so much of it somehow it must have gotten trapped somewhere, and I couldn't apply it. Yeah. And like there's a guy that I'm just starting to understand what he's saying, and he's had these free Zoom talks for a long time. Let me know when you need to shut me up.
We're gonna shut up in about 7 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Salvador Poe. Are you familiar with him?
Sounds familiar, but I can't say.
He allows you to get buck naked on your Zoom session, and he's been doing this thing for years, and he's hawking his intensives.
Is he non-duality world?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he stopped seeking. Like it's the same. It lines up. Mm-hmm. And he says, freedom is only ever now.
Yes.
That's it. And he said it over and over and over. It's like all he said that's, and I couldn't get it, because I'm not.
You're in time. You can't understand how timelessness can be the answer.
But what about my roof?
Yeah.
How am I gonna?
I got problems.
I've got an active leak. And but somewhere, and he has a story that's a lot like Paul's. He was a pop star, coke head or whatever in Manhattan, woke up one day and said, wait, what? And then went and meditated and, you know, did the whole thing and then went somewhere where they said stop.
Yeah.
But, you know, but I think he's got some program, and I don't know exactly what it is. But I like that Paul's, like, you know, if Paul Harding works for you, then have no head for a while, you know? Until, is it Paul Harding?
Richard Harding.
Richard Harding works for you.
I always fuck that up. Richard Lang.
On having no head, I'm sorry.
Hey, which, by the way, this is the first time I'm saying it on the podcast. Richard Lang is going to be on this podcast, which I'm completely stoked about.
Oh, I'm really stoked.
He's one of my favorites. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so, you know, here we are. You know, we're finding skillful means to travel lighter.
Yep.
And it's become like something about being a part of this community. I'll just wrap it up by saying, I was a boy whistling in the dark, and being a part of this community has somehow
now we're whistling
it up.
Yep.
It's thrown light on it, and there's been people that have nudged me back this way or that way, you know, and it's helped me evolve a lot. So
awesome,
it's been fun, and really having this talk. I mean, I guess I got sidetracked, but what I was going to say is, like, there's been times today when I've wanted to, you know, say, what the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, really, you know, be in a position to reflect poorly on my client, my partner, all this stuff. And I haven't gone into that mode. It's like a headache that disappeared.
What a gift, right? A little bit of space, a little bit of pause.
Yeah, people are allowed to be who they are.
Yes.
And I've heard that before, but it never meant anything. It got here and it didn't go here. So, you know, people are allowed to be who they are, where they are. And with that little degree of change, I end up in a place where people are willing to help me and reach out to me.
Yes.
I've become part of a community.
Yes.
You know, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of months, but
yeah.
So.
Yeah, man. Well, I just have that feeling again of what can you add to that? That says it.
Yeah, I want you guys to be a part of my story.
Of course, yeah. We want you to be a part of this. And
what is that? Did I just ruin the whole thing by saying that? I want you.
Well, if you're stuck in a story, which we are, you know, if you're stuck in a dream, then you might as well find some allies.
Improve your board of directors.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so, like, I've got a whole new board of directors. The new employer thing, I can go on and on, but I know we've come to the end of this thing. I'm just getting you guys are missing the good stuff.
Oh, just starting. We're going to have to do another one.
Yeah. Oh, shit. Now I got to come across with the goods. Part 2, he said it would be good.
No, this was great.
No, you know, I could talk for about an hour and 3 minutes of it. 3 minutes of it's usable, hopefully.
Yeah. So. We'll cut out the sound bites. That's more than I normally get out of one. So.
Okay.
Hey,
you got people coming on. So.
Hey, James.
Hey, thank you. You've honored me, man. You've honored me
so much, and we will get you back on here again, because I know I always say this on the podcast when I have this feeling: the best conversations are unfinished. So this one's definitely got a lot more to explore.
We had the one that I had before we got on, the one we had, and then the one I'll have over the next 2 weeks.
You got it.
And great whistling with you.
Yeah, thanks for whistling together.
All right, cool, man. This was simpatico, and thank you guys very much.
Right on, James. Hey, we'll see you
at the meeting.
Right on, bro.
Nice.
Talk to you soon.
Or see you soon. Yeah.
See you soon.